Hey guys, welcome back to Power Up Gamers. I'm Jim and D&D, and today I'm joined by Esper the Bard, a special guest, and we are going to be discussing character development. Now, this isn't just your normal chat video. This will be used in a series of workshops that I'll be given the week before Thanksgiving. And so for most of it, it will be a chat. Then, and towards the end of the chat, I'll kind of walk through an exercise. Me and Esper will probably do an example, and then I'll give you guys one to do on your own. In addition, during that week, each night I will be posting games that relate to what we're talking about out for the day. Hey, so how have you been, Esper?
Hello, hi. And just a quick word to everyone who's watching. I'm Esper. My channel is Esper the Bard. You can find me here on YouTube. I've been great. How about yourself?
Pretty good overall. A little bit overworked and underpaid like all of us.
Yeah, I hear you.
So, let's kind of dive into character development, and let's kind of begin with a backstory and what we look for as a DM.
Backstory, sure. Well, I'm a big fan of backstories personally, both as a writer and as a gamer. So there are a few main points with backstories that I like and that I think are compelling. There's also a couple things that players tend to do that aren't so great, and that can maybe end up hurting the game or just making the character more flat or generic.
Yeah.
So I have a few different ideas here. I guess let's get the kind of negative one out of the way first.
Okay.
Whenever someone asks me, I have good news and bad news, which one do you want first? I always say, okay, give me the bad news first. So we'll talk about what I think is kind of can be a corny backstory, which is what I like to call the lone wolf.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about here?
Oh, yes.
You'll see this over and over and over again in role-playing games. The character who was exiled, who was kicked out, whose parents were killed, whose village was destroyed, who was a lone street urchin, who's a wandering warrior with who's just a vague, mysterious past. You see this over and over and over again. And I really encourage people to limit this as much as possible. If limit or just completely cut it out, like avoid it.
Yeah, one of the things that bothers me with it's not so much they want kind of that exiled character. It's even someone who's an outcast as or grows up taking care of themselves is going to interact with other people or at some point. And usually I find it's because players really just don't want to take the time to or give little elements for the DM to work with.
Yeah, usually it's their lack of interest or just kind of laziness on the player's part or on the DM's part if the DM is making all these lone wolf NPCs. However, it may not be laziness. It may be that the person wants to make this kind of solitary, edgy character. But you'll find that your character really comes across less edgy when he's this lone wolf guy who's not connected with anything. It's much more compelling and dramatic and I guess we'll just say edgier when you have this kind of pariah or character that went through a difficult upbringing who is connected with family, friends, organizations, groups, some kind of community or group. It's much more compelling.
Even if it's as simple as giving him a mentor or a fence for a lonelier children.
Sure.
And something as simple as that, having like one person they basically care about in the world can make a big difference.
Sure. It makes all the difference. There's a big difference between, my family hated me and I left when I was adolescent and I've been roaming the land ever since. Okay, so it's pure, at this point, it's just purely, I don't know, it's not real. It's purely backstory in the plainest sense of the term. Compare that with, my family doesn't get along with me, maybe I have some problems, they hate me, and I live with them. And then it's real because it's actually happening and you can actually make scenes based out of it during the role playing.
Exactly. Hey, and that's one of my big things that I look for when I ask for backstories is I want to know who the character is what they're about, and what set them on the path they're on. Along with who do they know in the world, or then kind of where their place in this fantasy world is.
Yeah, those connections. Not only do they make the character stronger and more compelling, but it gives you all more material to work with.
Exactly.
It gives you more material or ideas to create seeds. It's not seeds, but scenes, or maybe even a side plot, or it could weave into the adventure or the main storyline. The player can do stuff with it too. It gives you guys material and substance to work with.
Exactly.
Whereas if you just say, I was exiled from my monastery because of blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, so maybe at some point in the future, he'll like go back to his monastery and reconcile with these people that they're not even real yet because they don't even exist in the story. You don't have as much to work with there.
I've definitely used backstories a lot to throw twists to my players. One of the most memorable examples I can think of is a character who was a soldier whose family had died in a dragon attack. And the heroes got there a bit too late to save the town. What he didn't know was they managed to save his youngest daughter. Badly burned up, kind of crazy. And later on, I brought that into the session, and all the players, even me as a DM, were literally in tears because of how impactful that scene was.
Yeah, it's those connections are so much more powerful, so much more compelling. And when you and the players feel it, you actually feel it, that's when the game that's an ideal that you want to reach with the game.
Oh, yeah. I wish every session was like that, like every minute in that session. Realistically, it's not.
Right.
As a DM, those are the moments we live for. Because
yes, absolutely.
it becomes so real.
It becomes real. It's that's what stays with you. Those are the memories that really stay with you. You're gonna forget the random encounter with the bandits on the road that they don't even have names. You don't know who they are. They just came. You fought each other. You got the loot and the experience, and you moved on your way. Like, you're gonna forget that.
Exactly. Hey, but like that player and the rest of us remember going into that town, finding out his daughter was alive in this whole little crazy scene, and that will stay with all of us for decades.
Yeah, that's what stays with you. That's really that's the heart and soul of role-playing games. Getting together with your friends, telling stories, and these memories that'll stay with you.
Exactly. So that's a bit about what we look for kind of with the backstories.
Sure. So this actually will tangent really well into the next idea that I brought. So now we're kind of leaving the space of don't do this into do this.
Okay.
Which is the character ideally should care about something or believe in something. The character should have something, whether it is like a moral, a concept, a ethic, or a purpose, a goal, an objective, another person that they're bonded with, anything, just something. The character needs to have something, maybe more than one thing, maybe it could be multiple things, that they genuinely care about it. They believe in this. They think it's what they need. It's what's right. They will. Give me 1 second. I'm going to shut this window here.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's not okay. It's not going to cause an editing problem or anything. No. Okay.
No, go ahead. I definitely agree with Esper the having something that your character believes in and or cares about adds a lot to who your character is and how they think.
Yeah,
and that's
something that your character is willing to fight for or willing to suffer for.
And I know, at least for me as a DM, it's really important for me to learn all my players' characters and how they think. Because then I can, especially in a longer running campaign, because then I know what they like, both as characters and players. So I know what kind of things to throw at them, what's gonna catch their interest.
You know what? How can I say this? So this thing that they care about, when it gets threatened, you know it's going to create a scene that has feeling, that has energy, that has tension.
Exactly.
It helps you to design the story, the adventures, the encounters.
Exactly. And it helps you make those scenes more real.
Yeah.
Both to the characters and the players behind the characters. And ideally, that's what we want. We don't want to just tell a story with these characters. We want to touch the players and make them feel what their characters are experiencing. And
yeah,
again,
that's the mark of a good game. A good game, a good story, a good game master is when the characters really get invested into the characters and what's happening.
Exactly.
So this oh, go ahead.
So you said you had some kind of a list of dues. We covered kind of this as one about having something they care about.
Yeah, something they care about or something they believe in. The next point is a unique detail. I think this is very important as well. It might be just a side detail, a minor note, or kind of a quirk of the character, or it might be something that's really major that actually it defines or shapes a large portion of who this character is.
Yeah. One of the things I do, and I'm doing this in a level 0 campaign that I'm kicking off tonight, is each of the characters have a secret about themselves that they
Whoa.
don't want anyone else knowing. And, and this secret idea, or it could be pretty much anything, but it gives me something to work with both story-wise, and it tells me more about the player's and character's personality.
I dig it. I dig it all the way. Secrets are some of the best things for a unique trait or unique detail about a character, especially when they are, like you said, they're a guarded secret. Because sometimes players forget that part and they come to the table and like, okay, so my character, secretly is a warlock. He looks like he's a I don't know, something else. He looks like a wizard or a traveler. He looks like a soldier. Maybe he is a soldier, but secretly he has this kind of dark patron. But he just kind of lets the cat out of the bag at the beginning of the game. Like by the end of session 1, everyone's like, oh, okay, so he's like this dark mage thing underneath his chainmail.
Yeah. One of the things and one of the secrets I love using is when my players will come up with, oh, my guy's killed someone. And,
a dark deed in their past.
Yeah, or they burn down a church or a temple or anything like that. That would be a big thing.
Sure.
Because for one,
something that not only has legal repercussions, possibly mortal repercussions. Yeah, maybe someone will want them put to death, but also it could give them an inner conflict. Maybe they're eaten up inside because of what they did.
That's exactly. For example, I played a paladin who burned down the temple that he belonged to. So like the entire time I played him, he was trying to atone for that.
Something that haunted him from his past.
And he just came across as this really haunted person, and who was really trying to struggle with what they had done.
Awesome. And I'm sure that it not only gave you and the DM more material to work with in terms of story, but it just made your character more complex, made him deeper.
Exactly.
It made him more human.
Exactly. And that
because
was,
we're all flawed and we all make some kind of mistakes.
And that was one thing that the other players and the DM all could understand, because they had all made mistakes and done things they had regretted.
Sure.
So they knew like right what the character was going through.
Sure. This is awesome. You actually, on this same note, I'll give another example. So you were a beta reader for the novel that I've been working on, that I've worked on and now been trying to publish. So do you remember a character named Heshtor? He became Jevonshire's champion.
Yes, I do.
Okay, actually, I was kind of hoping you would say I don't remember him, because you read the second draft, and at that point he wasn't so developed, and he was just more of like this strong, competent warrior who was perceptive.
Yeah, I don't remember in great detail, but I remember the name and kind of.
Well, you have a good memory. You have a good memory then, because he's not a main character. He has an important role. He's important, but he's not one of the main guys.
Yeah.
So in the third draft, I was thinking, what am I going to do with this character? He's just like this fairly generic, strong warrior guy with, he's kind of like a reliable guy. So I started going into his backstory and putting some kind of dark, complicated family problems that led to an event, interestingly enough, involving fire, a house burning down, some people suffering because of that. And then I went on to add in some more strange related details about him. Like his hands are always dirty. They're always like blackened from coal.
Yeah.
And he's making these strange paintings out of coal. And there's like this connection, like, okay, his house burned down, his wife died, his son got disfigured. Maybe he did it, or maybe he caused it, or it's kind of, no one's quite sure. But he's obsessed with making these weird paintings out of coal. And I know where it's going. I know what's really happening. It's a slow revealing of his secret.
Right.
And so suddenly he's a much more compelling character.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Anytime there's a secret or something hidden, that automatically is gonna make them compelling. Even if it's something we would think of as being more trivial, or just the fact they're hiding it makes us want, as people, want to know.
Yeah, we have a natural, well, we have curiosity. Yeah, curiosity is a major driving force for humans. And so if you do that slow reveal, don't spill all the beans right at the beginning, but slowly kind of tease out different elements, and don't be afraid to make them weird. You know, things that when the players see them or hear them or learn about them, they think, that's odd. It's kind of unsettling maybe, or just intriguing.
Yeah, and there's a lot of.
Then you go from fairly generic strong warrior guy to this character that has flaws, some strange things in his past, some family problems. He's also an artist. There's some kind of obsession that he has, and it's suddenly a much more interesting character.
And there's a lot of ways you can reveal some of that. For example, with my paladin who had burned down his church, the first clue I gave in the campaign I was playing was when we were on the road and making camp, he would not do any of the cooking or set the bonfire.
He didn't want to have too direct contact with the fire.
Exactly. He stayed kind of away on a log, like 10 feet back.
There you go. And then already the players make note of it. They're like, that's a little odd. Yeah, just a little, a hint of something, tip of the iceberg. Especially
when, like, previous nights we were on the road when it was raining, he was real helpful in setting up tents and kind of taking care of everyone. So right there, all the players and the DMs like, okay, something's going on. Of course, the DM knew what was going on, but
sure, but the players at that point, they're just getting crumbs or samples, little bits that just enough to catch their attention and make them note something's a little different.
Exactly.
Well done.
Great.
So I have another aspect of this topic that I also wanted to talk about because I think it's important, which is how, and a lot of players and a lot of GMs will then ask, okay, well, these ideas, these concepts are great, but how do I get to this point? Okay, so maybe it's not the best idea to make all these lone wolf characters, but how do I think of something else? Or I need to make a character who's connected with things. What is that? How can I come up with that? how can I think of these quirks, these weird traits? How can I know what he cares about, what he'll fight and suffer for? I think that gets left out a lot in everything. From Player's Handbook and Dungeon Master's Guide to third-party supplements.
The very first thing I would do is talk to a DM. Find out about their setting, about their role. Or if they mention a specific faction in a noble house, a merchant, a certain town, whatever they kind of mention in that app, take that as a starting point. If they
could be a seed for your ideas.
Exactly. If they mention this mysterious spiral tower, okay, right there, you got something unique, maybe a secret dealing with that spiral tower. And you can simply ask the DM for some more details. Oh, okay, this spiral tower caught my attention. Who resides there? Is there a certain faction that controls it? And most of the time, DMs will have something planned.
Sure.
Okay. And then they'll say,
or if not, they can come up with something pretty quickly.
Exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with that at all. Just
exactly. You just
come up with something
like that.
Yeah. We'll just work together and like, okay, well, let's see what could be the history of this tower, or what might be going on there. You don't have something noted. You could just make it up.
Exactly. A good example for me is a necrotic cult owns the tower. They're doing weird experiments and sacrifices. It's there. Okay. As a player, hey DM, what if I was one of the sacrifices in this temple and somehow I escaped? DM's most likely gonna say, yeah, that could be cool.
Perhaps you have a couple of insanity points at this point in the game.
And then right there, you got a connection into this necrotic cult, or to the Lord, or to this specific location, just by asking a couple simple questions.
Sometimes it is a very simple solution, or it's the path to reaching the end result of a more interesting character and a more compelling backstory. Yeah, sometimes it's as simple as that. Talk to the DM, get a note or a detail or two about the world, and just connect it with something there.
Exactly. Another thing is you can ask your fellow players. I can't think of a single game I've played in 30 some odd years that at least one person didn't have like a 12-page backstory for their character.
Sure.
So you just ask them, hey, this is kind of my character concept. I need to come up with something and to connect.
Sure. Can I be your character's best friend?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. When the characters have some history together, their backstories are connected or even maybe intertwined.
And I'll tell you, one of the best backstories I've ever done was for my paladin. He was a tiefling lawful good paladin. And of course his family, dimensional merchants, kind of make a deal with the devil type.
Sure. He's a little bit of a mold breaker.
Now, the other thing is, in that setting, nobles did not mix with commoners as far as relationships. He fell in love with another player's character who was playing a tiefling bard, and we built this backstory together where he was gonna have her hired by his family back when he was speaking with them. But it ended up one of her rivals with the theatric troupe that she was with. It had slipped a love potion into the drinks. So they ended up being discovered being intimate, which was a big no-no, raised all kinds of trouble with the family.
The bard was a commoner.
Yeah, the bard was a commoner. And because he didn't stand up for her against his family, she ended up hating him. And years later, they happened to end up in the same adventuring in guild that put them on a team together.
So you already have
a huge backstory. It took us like 6 hours to craft it out. And there was only like 3 paragraphs long.
Yeah, sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes you only need 1 paragraph.
Yeah.
And then the rest you actually just play out at the table.
Yeah. Sometimes a couple sentences is enough.
Yeah, and the rest comes to life, naturally or organically, spontaneously.
Exactly, but it was the simple thing was, it started with, hey, we're both tieflings. Wouldn't it be cool if we knew each other?
Sure.
And then
that's the seed. That's the seed being planted.
Yeah, and then we just went from there. And it turned out awesome. Still love that character. He's one of my
I can really sense the affinity that you have for that character. So you're giving
conflicts.
Yeah. But that conflict is the good stuff. That's the good storytelling.
That's the key to those stories is conflict.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so you're giving a clear, real life example of the character backstories being compelling and memorable and making the game overall better.
So
I have another thought or another perspective on this same thing. How do I come up with all this stuff for my character's backstory? Which also is another simple answer, another simple solution, which is to just draw upon real life experience.
Yeah.
You can movies. also books and movies, but I'm talking about real life, either something from your own life, from your family, maybe a story that you've heard someone tell from their life. You could do something simple or something extravagant. Something as simple as just get out of your house and go for a stroll through your neighborhood and just observe everyone there. Or it could be something as elaborate as traveling, and you can draw from experiences in different parts of the world, outside of your own home.
I've definitely used that, not just in how they connect with the world, but what kind of character they are.
Sure.
When I was young, I had an extremely bad temper. So one of the things I did was I played this really patient, tolerant, never angry monk. I paid attention to how he would handle situations and comments. And eventually, I took it to heart, and in the long run, I made it part of who I was.
So you, as a person, learned something from the character.
Exactly.
Sure.
And
Yeah, just it's so simple. You just all you do is you either draw upon your own memories, or if nothing immediately compelling is coming to mind, just step outside your house and just observe. You can interact with other people, ask them questions, or you can just observe other people from a little bit of a distance. It's all around you. There's stories unfolding. Everyone's life has stories unfolding all the time, all around. Or maybe the location itself. I saw 2 locations today that I could quickly draw upon. I went to this beach, and there were these signs about danger of shark attacks, and it was saying like what to do to avoid shark attacks. And my friends that I was with, they were telling me about sharks. And me and my buddy, one of my buddies, we were like, we're going in, and we ran, we dove into the water. We didn't stay very long, but like we kind of confronted this. So immediately there's this location. It's like, okay, maybe this character grew up in this sort of location. Maybe he was attacked by a shark. Maybe he saved someone who was attacked by a shark. Maybe he loves the sharks and he thinks people misunderstand them and fear them and kind of demonize them. So there's already so many options.
Yeah.
Then we returned back home. We saw this huge tree, big branches, and it was just covered with vines. I think they were vines. Maybe they were hanging limbs. And it was so big, there were like little rooms. And there was actually a guy, like a street vagabond, who lives in this tree. And I climbed up in it and I saw his little room that he lives in. And it's like, oh my God, like I want to interview this guy. He probably has a little bit of a rough life, but it's interesting. It's like a street dweller tree man.
Yeah. I know one of my favorite pictures is a place in Washington, and they have basically these cliffs that come like this and then down, and there's a little cave right here, but right on top, up right in the middle where you think it would fall, is this massive tree with its roots kind of hanging down over the cave entrance. And
it's like, who might live there? Or maybe someone goes there for like a spiritual retreat. Or maybe it's an entrance to a dungeon and someone found it or stumbled into this cavern.
Exactly.
Let's just let your imagination go free, and you're gonna have a feast, a banquet of different ideas, and you can pick the best ones. You pick the juiciest morsels from the banquet table.
Another good option for those of us who don't get out much and are online pretty much all the time, if you belong to Absolute Tabletop. Several times a week, people will post pictures. Who is this? What are they doing?
They give a picture as a prompt.
Yeah, they give kind of a picture as a prompt, and a lot of the members will jump in with little quick, maybe paragraph long stories explaining who this is or what this item is. I'm taking
it's
for characters, and
it's an exercise that you can take part in it yourself and use that prompt to write something, or you can just see what other people wrote and just steal their ideas or modify their ideas.
Exactly.
Go for it.
I do tend to take them and modify them on myself, but some people...
I love taking different ideas from different places, like say 2, 3, 4 ideas, and kind of intertwine them together and then mix them around and change it a little bit. It's like cooking, I want, a little this ingredient, I bought this there, put it together in the mixing bowl, mix it, add a little bit of my own spices, change the recipe as I see fit, and that's art. That's how it happens.
Exactly. people think it's a lot harder than it is, which always surprised me because for me, there's no lack of ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the possibilities are really endless. They're only limited by the human imagination, which is just this ever renewing source of ideas and creativity.
Yeah. So we've done pretty good on covering kind of do's and don'ts.
Yeah.
There is one other kind of issue or topic I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Because a lot of people will say, I want to see my character develop in a session or in a campaign. Right?
Sure.
Right? So for me, that means the character's going to change.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much that simple. How it changes is kind of up to the DM and the players. But I wanted to kind of touch base on some of the things about how a character would develop during a session.
Absolutely. So do you remember what we talked about regarding the character's beliefs and what the character cares about? The DM needs to challenge that. The GM needs to provide situations and stories and encounters, whether they're combat encounters or not. They could be a skill or a role-playing type encounter. But to put the character into a stress situation of some kind where they are pushed into a kind of a dire situation or maybe a crisis, and they have to make that decision. Do I stick to what I believe in and risk myself and fight for it? Or does my perspective change and my character alters a bit? Yeah. Test that. You will find some good role playing.
Oh, definitely. One of my favorites with this is I have a character I've been playing lately, Julia. Very rogue, but her main thing is she's a serial killer. But the reason she is a serial killer is because she's an artist and she believes that the physical body is the perfect canvas. Yes. So for me,
Grim.
yes, very grim, and loves to torture people because of it. But if someone brought that to me as a DM, I first think, if I'm gonna make them develop and change, is to challenge that belief that at the body it's the perfect canvas.
Or maybe one of her victims does something or says something that throws her off.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or thinking about your paladin who has that, I guess we'll say, fear or discomfort of fire.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll eventually be put into a situation where he has to use fire to succeed, or if he chooses to avoid it, there's some kind of consequence to that as well. But either way, he changes.
And it should be something major too, like for
in that situation, that would be very major.
If he doesn't use fire, perhaps one of his companions that he's sworn to protect dies. So it has to be something that really would make an impact.
Yeah. Or if we want to flip it around, maybe he faces some kind of situation where he has the chance to confront and overcome his fear, this trauma. However, doing so would result in something catastrophic, like the death of someone he loves.
Exactly. There's all kinds of
It's like a dilemma situation.
Exactly. And that's when a character's gonna change based on the player's decision.
Sure, because the player is forced between these two options. They both have pros and cons, and they both receive change. Or if the character is very if the character has a lot of ingenuity, they might reframe things and create a third option.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's all gonna lead to this to the character development, and it happens over time.
Yeah, and one thing I always find fascinating when the main character change, it isn't just each player character. It changes the group as a whole. Oh, and then everyone has to learn how to kind of handle the new version of the previous character.
Sure.
And it just gives so much ability for like role-playing scenes, and it could even have a major impact on player characters that weren't part of that scene. Like I mentioned, the one where all the players and the DM, which was me, were in tears because he had found his daughter he thought was dead, who was kind of crazy, badly burned. And no one but him and an NPC was in that scene, but everyone was impacted by it.
Yeah. Sure. The whole party changes and develops along with the characters because the party is the characters.
Exactly. So that's kind of just what I wanted to touch base about, because I've heard people say they want character change and development in a session, but no one ever really talks about what that is and how it happens.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have just created one of the definitive videos on the topic. If someone can follow all the things we've talked about here, you're going to be having some serious backstories going on.
Oh yeah, so that will be awesome. So, if you're up for it, why don't we actually do an example?
Yeah.
So let's come up with a character.
I'm game. Let's go for it.
I like the idea, and I'll kind of give you the scene, and you can kind of fill in the backstory. Okay. I imagine a little girl, maybe 10, 11 years old, out in a cornfield, running towards her house because there's a dark shadow. So that's kind of the scene I want to work with. So,
young girl fleeing from a dark shadow through a cornfield, trying to find her way home.
Either fleeing or running towards home.
This is a recurring dream that the character has.
Okay.
The character is a player character, adult or at least semi-adult, who's already at the point of adventuring. But this dream continues to occur. And she never sees the end of this dream. It always ends at this point when the shadow is getting closer. The cornfield is thick, but you can start to see maybe hints of the house drawing close in the near distance. And then she always wakes up at this point in the dream.
Okay. Awesome. So right there we have part of the backstory.
There's part of the backstory. What does the dream mean? Is it an actual memory from her life? What is the shadow? What happens? The dream doesn't finish. Can she do something to receive more of the dream? I think that would be really interesting if there are some story or quest which, upon success,
I would
allows her to gain access to more of that dream.
Yeah, I definitely would use that as a DM, just as to go a bit further into what the dream itself is and what actually happened. And but I'm gonna say we'll do a little bit more. So this is girl's growing up. She remembers running in that cornfield, but not what happens. So it's something that really haunts her, and it's that coming through as a dream. Now, I will say later on, she has learned her family has died. Now, as a DM and player, I would obviously make it part of that dream. But she doesn't know that. So, I think part of her as a character, she might have trust issues or abandonment issues from the loss of her family. And if it's a trust issue, that would be a big thing if she's an adventurer at this point, having to grow up.
Having to rely and trust upon, put trust in the other members of the party.
So it's not an extensive thing. You don't have to do a lot with it as far as, like we showed, a couple sentences. And that's one thing the DM can latch onto that might be reoccurring throughout the entire game.
And I've already got other ideas coming to me about what the shadow is, what happened.
Well, let's hear some of them.
I'll say one. So, drawing upon life experience. We recently had the solar eclipse.
Yes.
And it was an interesting, somewhat eerie moment. So this is a fantasy world. We'll take things to a little bit more of a strange or mystical level.
Okay.
As we have liberty to do that in a fantasy world.
Exactly.
So what if in this world, or maybe not even the world, just this one specific land, there have been recurring eclipses? It could be an eclipse, the moon passing in front of the sun as we know it, or it could be a different kind of eclipse. Maybe there could be something else that obscures the sun. Maybe there's a dark, strange cloud that obscures the sun. Maybe some sort of dark mage is doing something that makes the day turn to night. And the shadows, whatever this eclipse is coming from, the shadows fall across the land, and they bring with them horrors.
Nice. And I will even build on that a little bit and say that somewhere in the land, and it's there's an ancient prophecy about these eclipses and what they mean. But it's not common knowledge. So it's something, and the group has to seek out to understand what's going on. So right there, just based off of that little bit, we came up with basically a
campaign. That's like a campaign right there.
Yeah, off of one little bit of one character's backstory.
Yeah.
So, well done. And so,
I hope you or someone runs this campaign. I want to hear about it.
oh, I am definitely gonna have to run like it at some point. All right. So we've done an example.
I look forward to hearing about it.
Awesome. So now, I want the viewers to pause the video for a minute, grab a piece of paper, pen, and whatever you need to get it, something to write on. Okay, you should be back now. Now, we're going to create a scene, kind of like I gave Esper. You're going to have a character and a location. And the character's going to be doing something. So for us, write down who your character is in this scene. Doesn't matter if it's boy, girl, kid, adult. Write down who they are. Write down where they are. Are they in the cornfield? Are they in the forest? In their home? Again, doesn't matter. This is only for you guys. No one else will ever see it unless you show it to them. And write down what they're doing. And whether they're chopping wood, or are they running through this location? Are they cowering in a corner? So now that you have the scene kind of set, there's a couple questions that I would write underneath it. Who is this person? And why are they taking the action and that they want to take? What do they want the result to be? Those three. And they can be really simple answers. It doesn't have to be long and extravagant. It may be just a phrase or a one sentence a piece. And once you've wrote all of them down, you have the beginnings of a backstory. Or something that the character can use in a session and as part of the development. It's really that simple. Or if it's something you want to see developed and make a change to the character you're playing, show what you wrote to your DM. It's really that easy. So that's all we got for you tonight. I hope everyone enjoyed it. I know I did. And learned.
Do you want to hear the character notes that I just made?
Sure.
Okay. I was doing your example, your exercise.
Awesome.
All right, here's what I got. The character is a villager. He's a blacksmith. He is at his smithy, working a new ingot of metal. His name is Strom. So he's at the earliest stage of forging a new sword. But he's discovering that this metal is different than he's ever seen before. And while he's working it, his hammer breaks, and he starts to get very frustrated at this old traveling merchant who sold him the ingot.
Awesome.
That's what I got.
And that, I would take that and do so much with it as a DM. And I'm sure you can attest to that. If someone gave you 2, maybe 3 paragraphs stating that as part of their backstory, that's ideal.
I've already got some ideas brewing.
Awesome. So I hope everyone's enjoyed our examples or kind of chat at. So until next time, may the dice always roll in your favor.
Thanks for having me, Jaron.
You're welcome. I'm Esper.